I'm sorry. Well, you guys, we going to this tour, boat tour. Okay, so yeah. You saw the other when I filmed the outside of the resort that we staying in. So now we taking
continue on Chase Road for 1.5 miles.
we're taking the tour to the boat tour. Yeah. Is that it? No, that's work and that's home. Okay, you guys, I think we'll be closer to it. Cause it's just, they're gonna take us on the lake part. Okay, this is the boat tour I was telling you guys about.
Right, good afternoon, welcome to Orlando Lake Tours and welcome to the beautiful Butler chain of lakes. My name's Steve and I'm going to be looking after you this afternoon. Just to give you a little bit of info about these lakes, there are 13 lakes in total. This is one of the smaller of the lakes, which is called Lake Isleswood, and this is around about 15 acres in size. The largest of the lakes is called Lake Butler, and that's just over 1,600 acres. So it is quite a big lake for Orlando standards.
Look.
As we enter the first of these canals were cut through in the 1920s and 1930s, and they were cut through by the orange growers, because before there was very, very expensive real estate and golf courses in this area, it was all mainly covered by orange groves. So to get the fruit to market, they used to use barges, and they would barge the fruit from one lake to the other until eventually they got it to a place called Bay Hill, where there used to be a small train station. So that's how the orange growers got the fruit to market. And what the orange growers didn't realise at the time, they were leaving us a fantastic legacy, because the trees that you see on either side, these are cypress trees, and they're now fully protected. So we definitely wouldn't be allowed to cut them down today. The grey stuff you see hanging from the trees, that is called Spanish moss. That is just an air plant. It doesn't do any damage to these particular trees, but it is where the saying comes from, don't let the bed bugs bite. Because many, many years ago, people used to stuff the mattresses and pillows with Spanish moss, and it was obviously all full of bugs and what have you, and they used to get bit. So that's where the saying originates from. The next lake we're going to enter is called Lake Louise. And on Lake Louise is Islesworth Golf and Country Club. The building directly in front of you now, this is the Clubhouse of Isleswood. This is the golf club. And this place was made famous for two reasons. One, we used to have some PGA golf tournaments here, and two, Tiger Woods lived here for almost 15 years.
Wow.
So this is where Tiger Woods practiced a lot of his golf, amongst other things. And it is very, very exclusive and very, very expensive. If any of you fancy becoming a member here, the initiation fee is $100,000.
Oh.
And then once you've paid that and you've been accepted, because you will need at least 2 references to go with your cheque.
Wow.
And then once you have been accepted, it will then cost you a further $50,000 a year for your full golfing membership. So it is a nice place, but sadly it's definitely not cheap, that is
Wow.
for sure. But it's not too expensive for a lot of people. And the reason I say that, last week I had the lady on board who runs that place, and she said it's the first time in 15 years that they've had a waiting list.
Wow.
And not only that, she said you would not believe the amount of money that she's been offered to jump the list.
Wow.
So there's plenty of people out there with $150,000 just to spend on joining that golf. He lives on one of the other lanes, and he pays just over $165,000 a year in property tax.
Wow.
And if any of you have got HOAs where you live, Homeowners Association, this will make you feel better. The HOAs in Isleswood are over $1,000 a month.
Wow.
Makes me feel like my $75 a month is very, very reasonable.
Oh, right. There. Another pool in there, right? I had to take it out because you got to see, you know.
So coming up on your right, these are what they class in Isleswood as small to medium sized homes. And these would cost you anything up to $4 or even $5 million. And the last house on the right, with the shiny green tile on the roof, that is owned by the CEO of Universal Studios.
Right.
And now coming up on the right, now you'll understand why the other homes were only small to medium. This is most definitely a large house at 35,000 square feet. But it is by no means the largest house you're going to see today.
Whoa.
And this house is on the market if you fancy treating yourself, and it's only $23 million.
Whoa.
And believe it or not, there are only 2 people that live in that house.
Wow.
So we can only surmise they don't get on very well. You did not see your partner from one day to the next.
Right.
The previous owner who actually built that house used to collect cars. So there's garaging space in there for 35 cars. It's a 2-level garage. The top level holds about 8 cars, which you can get in from the front, and then the rest you drive down the side and go underneath. But what's even more impressive than all that, each level has got its own turntable, because you wouldn't want to have to move a Lamborghini to get your Bentley out, so each level has a turntable. And then the next house coming up, this is all one property, all the way just past those red beds. And believe it or not, behind the red beds is sort of an indoor-outdoor swimming pool.
Whoa.
This house used to belong to Ken Griffey Jr., the baseball player. He went into the Hall of Fame a few years ago. But what's interesting about that house is, believe it or not, that was his guest house. He lives about 3 miles up the road in a much, much bigger house than that one. But sadly, as the saying goes, you can pick your friends, but not your family. One night, some family members were in there, got themselves into quite a big fight, and a lot of damage got done. So Mr. Griffey decided he'd had enough of it and sold it.
Right. Wow.
Family members
The
lost
house
out
is
big
up now,
time.
right there. It is.
We're now going to go under Chase Road. This is the road you all came in on. And the reason it's called Chase Road, many years ago when all this area was covered by orange groves, the family that owned all the orange groves was called Chase. So they named the road after them. And there is also a Lake Chase, which was named after them as well. And as we sail through here now, and you look over the sides, you'll see just how clean and clear this water is. It is absolutely pristine. And then the next lake we're going to enter is called Lake Butler, and this is the largest of the lakes.
Wow.
If you start to look over to your right hand side, you'll see the next very big house with a blue roof. This house is almost 40,000 square feet, and this house belongs to Shaquille O'Neal. This is Shaq's house.
The blue one?
Inside there's a full-sized NBA basketball court, 12 bedrooms. Obviously one of the bedrooms is Shaq's bedroom. And in there's a circular bed that's 35 feet across. So a very big bed for a very large guy. And when Shaq's at home, he uses a Segway inside that house to get from one end of the house to the other because it's so long. And it does go all the way up behind the trees up here.
Look at the picture of it.
On the lake in Isleswood, where you see that new house being built there. Well, the piece of land that it is only just over a quarter of an acre, sold for $2.1 million. That is the 14th hole of Isleswood. One of the nice rolls on the course, because when you stood on the tee box and you look down the hill, the backdrop is this lake. Ago for $5 million. But it was only the bit in the centre that's 2 floors. And then they came in, they ripped the house to pieces, they took the swimming pool out, the jacuzzi and the terrace, and then they started to rebuild it all. Built a very nice extension to the right hand side of the main house, and to the left hand side that used to be a huge garden. And as you can see now, they've made that, filled it full of extensions. So he's made it into a very large home. The guy that's doing all this, he owns quite a lot of the Toyota dealerships in Florida. where this estate is. This is one of the largest estates in the area. And for obvious reasons, the next house is known locally as the White House, and it's only 3,000 square feet smaller than the White House in DC. This house is 52,000 square feet, so these houses are getting even bigger now. And this house was built by Mr. and Mrs. Siegel, and these people were responsible for starting holiday vacation timeshares in America. They own Westgate Resorts, etc., etc. And as you can see, they did quite well. But sadly, in the early 2000s, Mr. Siegel, almost 65, decided he would run off, fall in love with, and eventually marry a much younger lady of 32. Can't believe a guy would do such a thing, but sadly he did. But I don't want you to feel too sorry for his ex, because first of all, she did keep the estate. And at the time, Michael Jackson was trying to buy this for around $40 million. And the lady turned it down, because not only did she get the estate, she got a very nice sum of money to go with it. So she came out of it very well. She eventually got remarried. She's now called Mrs. Whittaker. And if you ever got friendly with her and she invited you to stay, now if you look at the bottom of the trees, you'll see they've got their own boardwalk. So I followed the boardwalk up. This is still all their property. At the end of the boardwalk there, you'll see a beautiful bronze statue of two bald eagles in flight. Now if you look back at that White House, to the right hand side, you can just about see it's got a dome roof. Well, the dome roof is part of the master bedroom. The master bedroom in that house is 3,000 square feet. And what's even more impressive than that, if you lied in bed at night and you fancied a nice romantic evening in, you can flick a switch and the top of the dome opens. And then you remember at the other side, I asked you to remember the green hedge. Well, that finishes directly in front of the boat, now at the side of this boat dock. So everything from here, all the way back, all over the other side, all belongs to that White House. That's Chase Road. Again, and just behind the trees there, it turns to Main Street. If you haven't been in Windermere, it's got a nice little cafe restaurant, an ice cream parlour, wine shop, and a little coffee bar, and that's about it. Now coming up on the right, now you see a few of the original homes that used to be scattered all around these lakes. These were built in the 1930s and 40s. Now if you would have been smart and you'd have bought one of those right about 30 years ago, they were $100,000 a piece. Today, they're going to cost you at least $1.5 million. Sadly, if any do come up for sale, they normally just get knocked down and something much larger gets put on there. Just going to have a quick nosy, see what that sign says. And it's only just come up in the last 6 years today. What it is about that piece of land, that is the only piece of land that's not been built on. And the story is with that piece of land, there used to be a very old house on there with two old ladies that lived in there, and the house burnt down with them in it. And so whether it's got bad karma or what it's got, I don't know, but that is the only piece of land that's not been built on, and it's been like that for, I don't know, 18 months, 2 years. And anything else that comes up for sale on this lake just sells immediately. of us now, this is called Bird Island. This is a bird sanctuary. But at this time of year there's almost nothing on here. If you come here in the winter, it'll be full of Anninger birds, cormorants, blue herons, kingfishers, ospreys, pelicans, all sorts of things. But at the moment, these are the quietest few months that we have. Everything disappears up north where it's a lot cooler. We are going to have a quick sail round just to see if there is anything on here. But like I say, it is virtually empty. Yes, it'll be in a few minutes. There's alligators and snakes, but well, you've got to do swim in the lake. Right. We'll see in a minute where everybody will be swimming. Oh, okay.
That's why they know about that boardwalk. The boardwalk is so close to the water, I wouldn't want to walk up there.
Right.
Coming up on the tree here that's sticking out, there's an osprey. It's got a fish underneath it. Right, and then coming up now, this is where everybody comes to party. They like to call them the fishermen, but I'm told an excellent live-out bass. The average catch is around about 2 pounds, but there has been some 10-pound bass pulled out here. So there is some quite big fish in here. But it is catch and release, so all the fish live to fight another day. Two sides. It's got its own beautiful little beach area there where you see the kids playing in the sand and the parents out there sunbathing and barbecuing. It's got 2 zip lines down from the trees down to the bulldog. It's got swings back there where you can swing and jump in the lake, and it's also got a few hammocks for the adults to chill out on. I always feel like if you live there and you look out of the window, it's very, very hard to feel miserable. And they do get the most magnificent sunsets because the sunset's almost directly behind us. Only one problem with that house is it's probably worth 3.5 million, so I'm worth 3 million short. You know? This is called Versaille Bay. For some reason, this is the only lake on all 30 lakes that doesn't either begin with lake or end with lake. For some reason, they decided to call this a bay. Right, the big white house that looks like it should be in Miami. Yeah, well, if you'd have come here 3 weeks ago, I would have said, I'm sorry, I can tell you absolutely nothing about that house. But luckily, last weekend, a lady and gentleman came on the boat, and when the tour was finished, he said, you know the White House that you know nothing about? I said, yeah. He said, well, I own it. So I said, well, can you tell me anything about it? And he went, well, the land cost him $3 million. It cost him $7 million to build the house, so he's in for 10. He said, if you look at the turquoise, that is a glass-fronted swimming pool, and it is full of water. So as I said to his wife, I hope you don't do too much skinny dipping, otherwise we could get a bit of a shock. Every bit of furniture inside that house is from Italy. And that's about as much as I can tell you. Apart from, and this I did not understand, but he did invite me in and said when I'm out with nobody on and he sees me, he's going to invite me in. He said the first floor of the house is glass. Wow. So I don't know what that means, you can see through it or what it means, but he said it's glass. So it'll be interesting to find out. And then the house now that's in front of you, a southern plantation style house, beautiful looking house. Beautiful balconies, gardens, trees, plants, got a very, very nice large swimming pool in the middle of all that. And that house sold about 18 months ago, and it sold to Larry the Cable Guy, the comedian.
Wow.
So that's where he lives now, part of the time.
Yeah, part of the time.
Part of the time. Other part of the time he lives in Arizona, I believe. Start to look over to your right, in between the bushes, you'll see a very old type house coming up, and that is called Shaw's Peacock Stables, and they've been breeding peacocks behind here for almost 50 years. So if any of you want a peacock, that's where you go. They start at $50 and they go to $300. You have no idea why you would breed peacocks, but that's what they do. Not even weekend yet, and the idiots are out. You know? It's supposed to be at idle speed nowhere.
Wow.
You know? Right.
As you talking about, they're not supposed to be out.
You know?
That boat right there.
That's just to respect the neighbors, I assume, right?
Well, it's not that. It stops it eroding the bankings.
Oh, okay.
You know, and things like that, and
Right.
it churns all the muck up. And two boats were going through here at 30 miles an hour, and they're not, you know, they soon have an accident. That's,
Talking about this boat right here. It's supposed to be at. That's what I'm talking about. We got people who just don't follow rules.
yeah. Weed up on the propeller. Big house coming up on the right hand side. If any of you are into baseball, the guy that lives there is called Prince Fielder. A baseball player that had to retire due to injury. I don't feel too sorry for him. He did sign a contract with Texas that was worth $145 million. Guys coming up, you may have contributed to it, the large tall hub there. That was built by the guy that started Garden Restaurant. That's Olive Garden out by the Steakhouse, Red Lobster, Texas Longhorns, Eddie V, Season 52, and the list goes on and on and on. What's interesting about that house, he built the house and he never ever moved in it. The reason he never moved in it, he gave it to his daughter for her 30th birthday present. And a few months ago, I had a local lady on the front, and when I said that, she turned around and went, "Good, mind, I'd only got me a new car for my 30th birthday." I thought, well, I do feel very, very sorry for you, that's all you got, you know? Right, this is one of my favourite homes, and you might be wondering why, and it's because of the size of the yard. And if you look at the yard, you'll see it's got 3 bridges over the top. The reason for the bridges, this house has got its own private canal. It is the only house of all 13 lanes where the boat dock is set back. Everybody else's boat docks are on the lake edge. And as we said a little bit farther up, you see the smaller home there behind the trees. Well, the roof on that matches the main house on the boat dock, and that's because that's his guest house. And now if you keep looking over to your right, and you look down the entrance to the canal, you'll see there's a bridge there that the boat can't get underneath. Well, if you look closely, you'll see some wires. Yeah, that's an electronic drawbridge. So as he sails in, he just flicks a switch, the bridge goes up and in he sails. I don't think it gets much cooler than having your own drawbridge. He became the president of Ron John's Surf Shop. Now to me that seems a step backwards, but what do I know? If you look at the house, see a couple of beautiful stone staircases down to the pool. See cabanas all around the pool where you can lie out and sunbathe under. To the right of the house is a couple of tennis courts, a basketball court. It's got just about everything you could ever wish. Now if you look out of the front of the boat in the distance, you can just about see the top half of the Ferris wheel on High Drive. And also the ride which is at the side of it, which is some sort of swing, sends you into the sky and spins you around very, very high and very fast. Something there's no chance And they're getting me on that is for sure. I've got to say we're pretty good, you know. Just opened in the last week. We're now going to sail across to the other side of the lake. Just take a few minutes to get across. The reason we're going across, you remember Mr. SIEGEL, who ran off with a young lady, timeshare guy? Well, now we're going to see the house. And it had to be bigger than what he built for the first wife, and obviously on the same lake. This next house, it's not quite finished yet, but it is. We're coming to see the big blue and white house now in front of us. They're all separate houses to you. So like I said, it's 91,000 square feet. This is just the side of it. We'll start here. 3 levels, each level's around about 30,000 square feet, which is the same size as a regular public store. So if you can imagine 3 public stores stacked on top of each other, that gives you an idea of just how big this house is. There's an underground garage going under there that's going to hold somewhere around 30 cars. The white that you see on the outside of that house is all white marble. That came from Italy and cost $5.8 million just to have the marble sat on the floor. And the lady that's going to be moving in there was on TV a while ago, and she explained they'd ended up having to buy the full quarry in Italy to make sure that all the marble matched, as you would. Wow. So if any of you have got timeshares, now you know where all your money's gone. Estimated cost of this house, well over $75 million. Before the end of the tour, you will see where they live at the moment, while this house is being built.
Timeshare. That's the guy who started timeshare.
Oh, really?
The one he said got a divorce.
Oh, yeah.
She got the other house, but it's way over there.
Right. Are you ready for this? Inside there, 31 bathrooms.
What?
16 bedrooms.
Whoa.
10 kitchens. One of the kitchens is a commercial kitchen. The reason for the commercial kitchen, there's a ballroom in there that will seat up to 300 people for dinner. There's a bowling alley in there.
Wow.
Rollerblading rink for the kids. 2 cinemas. One for the children, one for the adults. Estimated cost of all the electronics, computer systems, etc. is around $10 million. And then for the ladies, there's a nice 5,000 square foot fully commercial spa going in there. And then if you didn't think all that was insane, you know, now we're going to get to the insanity. Because as you might have gathered, according to Mr. and Mrs. SIEGEL, bigger is always better. So the master bedroom in there is 5,000 square feet. And that does not include the ladies' closet.
Wow.
The ladies' closet in there is 2,000 square feet. It is no longer a walk-in closet because every single item of clothing the lady owns is photographed, downloaded onto the computer by the staff. She has a touchscreen TV in the bedroom, so in the morning she might type in black and white dress, shows her a picture of every single black and white dress she owns, she taps on the one she wants, and the rails move and deliver it to the door. There is a documentary about these people, and on there they asked Mr. SIEGEL, why are you building such a very large home? And his answer was, because I can.
There you
Oh,
go.
there you go. Shoot.
And then what you've got to remember about Mr. Siegel is when he ran off with this young lady, he was 64 years old. She was only 32. Since then, they've had 6 children together. So as the saying goes, many a good tune played on an old fiddle. I think he did very, very well from 64 to have 6 kids.
Right.
Yeah.
He is now 85 years old. He's still going strong.
I know that.
His youngest child is 13. And his
13.
eldest child from his first marriage is nearly 60. So he's been a busy guy. And the second Mrs. Siegel, Jackie, her claim to fame, she's had 6 children with Mr. Siegel, and she's never once changed a diaper. 6 children, 6 nannies.
Wow.
And they got an estimated worth now of just short of $1 billion. And then I don't know if any of you are into heavy rock music, but the house directly in front of us is owned by Mark Tremont.
You know?
He's the lead guitarist for the band Creed. He also plays for a band called Alter Bridge, which apparently is very, very big in Europe. We always used to wonder how a guitarist manages to live in such a fantastic looking house, because the drummer lives around the corner in a 5,000 square foot home. Well, luckily, we had a young lady on board who nearly jumped over the side when I mentioned that guy's name. And then when she calmed down, she told us not only does he play the guitar, he writes all the songs. So that's why he's got all the money.
Right. Wow. Great.
Covers. The guy that lives there is called Johnny Damon. Johnny Damon's a local boy that did very, very well. Played baseball for the Yankees and the Red Sox, amongst other teams. And he won a World Series ring with both teams. So he was one of the very better baseball players. Coming up now on your right, this next house looks a little bit like a castle. I think it would be more at home on the scene of Harry Potter than anywhere else, but there it is. And that house was built by David Copperfield's manager. And he sold that house a few years ago, and he sold it, believe it or not, to the guy that owns Edible Arrangements. So now you know why they're so expensive.
Right. No, you know about that house over there. No, that shack out there, you already go back. There's a little shack house. You're right.
Well, you've got a pontoon boat, not a ship. Get over. You know.
Come another boat. Okay,
That's
really?
better.
Yeah.
You know, told you. Still Friday.
Right.
You know.
You do tours on weekends?
Yeah.
Oh, you get to do
Drives
all
me
that?
nuts.
Oh, I bet.
You alright? Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, drives me nuts on weekends. Best day of the week, Sunday afternoon. Means I'm finished for the week, you know, for the weekend anyhow.
Right.
No.
All the money.
That's right. The amount of phone calls that she takes, I'd rather be out here.
I can imagine.
You know?
When I called her about the parking a minute ago, she sounded like
Yeah,
I was
so-
like I was 100th call of the day, maybe two.
Yeah. Your wife answers the phone and we get phone calls. Well, do we need to fetch our passports? Are we going to see dolphins? You know, they say it's a lake. You know, that's the best one. Do we need our passports?
Drop them off.
Okay, you guys, I'm just gonna end this.
Coming up on the right, the last boat dock there with two jet skis on the side. If you follow it back to the grey house, the guy that lives there used to play for Orlando Magic, and he's called Jason Williams, and his nickname was White Chocolate. Yeah.
That's a modest looking home for an basketball game. At least he didn't blow all his money like most of them. All those basketball games broke them.
Know about that jet ski.
You don't want to do that? You don't want to get on a jet ski?
Well, I know they got life there, but I still ain't gonna get on it. Maybe my husband, I want to get on the jet ski. I say, no, sorry, I can't swim. Okay, you know, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end this video. I know it's probably over 30 minutes. I just wanted to tell you guys trip on Friday, August the 20th, 2021. Yep, so I'm going to end this. I will see you guys in the next vlog. I thought that was an alligator. Yeah, but this part where he said, this is most where the alligator be hanging out, but he said we don't want to disturb them. Yeah, but it was a big pop. This is the boat and stuff. We thought that was an alligator. So this is where they hang out, the alligator. Like you said, we don't want to disturb them.
Alligator Alley.
Yep, alligator. What is it?
Alligator Alley.
And this is Alligator Alley. Good thing we don't see it, because I told they want to see him.
The police car there now that's not got any signs on it, so they do take the time.
There's someone not following the rule. That's what we talked about. And stuff like going in the back. Yeah, people just don't follow the rule.
He should know better, actually, the guy behind us, because he's a ski instructor. So he's out here quite often. He's obviously late to pick somebody up. Right, if you look over to your left-hand side now, this is where Mr. and Mrs. Siegel live at the moment. This house is only 27,000 square feet. So they're all crammed in there like sardines, waiting to move into the big house. And that is on its own little peninsula. The only way to and from it is a driveway unless you've got a boat. It is totally surrounded by water. So as you can imagine, they call it Siegel Island.
through.
The house directly in front of
I
you
had
now,
to
the
come
one with the dirty orange roof and the two bolts
Like
in the
through
dock.
with this tour.
That is the former home of Tiger Woods. That's where Tiger lived when he had the big fight with his wife, and she allegedly whacked him round the head with a 5-iron, smashed his car window, and then he drove it in the tree. So that's where all that commotion happened. A lot of people say it's not as big as they expected for Tiger. It is only 9,000 square feet. But when you walked out of the front door, you walked almost directly onto the driving range. So it's a little bit like a workplace come home for Tiger. And Tiger actually sold it to Bubba Watson. Bubba lived there for 2.5 years. The reason Bubba bought it, he adopted a child in Orange County. And if you adopt a child in Orange County, you must live in Orange County for 1 year. And the child is not allowed to leave Orange County. So he adopted a second child, stayed a second year, and then put the house on the market and sold it. But when Tiger lived there, Tiger's neighbour to the right-hand side was Wesley Snipes, the actor. You might remember Wesley got himself into some financial problems with the IRS. He got sent to jail for 3 years for tax evasion. He is out now, back working, but sadly he did lose his house. And the interesting thing about that house now, the lady that lives there, I don't know if you ever remember, many years ago, there was an invention called an ab roller. It was just a wheel with a bar, backwards and forwards. I think everybody in the world bought one, used it twice, and then launched it in the closet. Well, that lady's still laughing, because she made over $25 million from that one invention.
It's crazy. Wow.
So it just gives me time to thank you all for coming. Hopefully you've had a good time, and it's been well worth your effort to get here. You have seen a different side of Orlando than most people see. And the most important thing is make sure you have a safe journey on wherever you're going. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the people at the front, you owe me some money. Yeah.
What you say? Wait. He said people.
We're not allowed to take any money in the park. Yeah, that's why you're supposed to prepay. We're not allowed to take any cash in the park, and if we get seen, then. Yeah. Alright, thanks very much. Thank you. Yeah.
Tell her you got that now.
That's right. That's my wife, so she'll be asking. Don't worry.
Hey, leave him alone. Leave him alone.
See how we do that in the middle of the lake? Yeah.
Oh, that's too funny.
Pretty much able to do this year round, you know?
Pardon?
You're able to do this year round,
Yeah,
huh?
year round. It's cooler, you know, because like it was quite pleasant today, and it's well in the 90s, so you know it's probably like 80 with a breeze. But you get it where it's 50, 13 lakes.
13 lakes. Wow. 13 lakes we got. So this is the end of the tour, you guys.
Just dropping them off.
Alright.
And he's sneaked in this spot now. And these people aren't here.
Wow.
Come on, man, what are you doing? Oh, he's that idiot.
Idiot blocking it where he's trying to come in. Wow. Look at the little dog.
I'm loving it.
I know. Okay, we just did our tour and stuff. Very, very nice tour, you guys. You know, very, very nice too. Yep. Right, babe? Very nice boat tour.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Going back to our car.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, where's my purse?